Speaking of injury news from the NBA, we were hoping to see Klay return from a knee injury, but he suffered that Achilles injury and will miss the 2020-21 season. Steph Curry, Thompson's running mate and fellow Splash brother for 8 seasons, spoke about the injury for the first time on Monday with the undefeateds. Mark Spears.
To get that call was a gut punch for sure. A lot of tears, a lot of you don't really know what to say because a guy like that having to go through 2 pretty serious rehabs now. But at the end of the day, we have to have his back. We hope that he's around and he's part of what we're going to do this year through his rehab and staying connected with us because he can come back strong. He is that type of guy that loves the game so much that he's going to do whatever it takes to get back out there on the floor and be himself. And that's what we hope. That's all. That's the confidence that we have. And this is 2.5 years of rehab is tough for anybody. But we're hoping for the best.
Sounds like you had an emotional call with him.
With him, with Bob, Coach Kerr.
But you said there were some tears.
From my part, you feel for a guy that had worked so hard to just get back out there on the court and 2 or 3 weeks out, something like that happens. But I think at the end of the day, like I said, you got to have a big picture mentality with this one. It's easier said than done for him going to another rehab, but there's a lot of time left in his career.
Warriors missed Thompson all of last season and will once again this season. Injuries have hit them particularly hard the last couple of seasons. Since they first played together, the big three of Curry, Green, and Thompson in 2012, those Warriors won 76% of the games when all three play. And not surprisingly, you take any one of the trio out of the mix and the number drastically dips.
Thompson had already missed last season with a torn ACL, but to help, the Warriors are now set to acquire swingman Kelly Oubre from the Thunder. With that, Sage Steele, Kevin Nagani with you, and that's where we begin tonight's show as we're 24 hours away from NBA free agency.
Yeah, and many experts believe that the Warriors being back at full strength would allow them to challenge the defending champion Lakers, but now really all bets are off. Let's take a look at the ramifications of this injury to Klay Thompson, the Warriors' 5-time All-Star guard. Thompson will now miss his second straight NBA season. You recall he suffered that torn ACL in his left knee during Game 6 of the 2019 Finals against Toronto. Now we probably won't see him back in game action before October of 2021. Specifically, what will they miss? Well, Thompson is one of the NBA's best two-way threats. He's made the third most threes of anyone since entering the league in 2011. He's got the lowest field goal percentage allowed by guards, 42.2%, since Second Spectrum began tracking in 2013-14. And the injury definitely hurts the Warriors' chances at winning another title. According to Caesars Sportsbook by William Hill, the Warriors were 8-1 to win the title prior to the Klay news. Those odds have now fallen to 20-1 since. But now help is on the way. According to our Adrian Wojnarowski, the Warriors are close to acquiring Kelly Oubre from the Thunder. Oubre had just been dealt to Oklahoma City Monday as part of the Chris Paul trade to the Suns. Here's a reaction on today's developments from the Warriors right now, starting with GM Bob Myers.
It hurts. It hurts the longer you get to experience life with people, the more pain you have, but that's why you get invested in these relationships. That's why it's special. That's why over here, maybe there'll be a statue of that guy. Klay has a strength of will, but right now it's a tough day for him. It hurts. He'll get to a place, I think, where he's on the road, but right now, like you or I or anybody, this is a tough day for him to hear that news. It's hard. It's tough.
Adrian Wojnarowski joins me now with the very latest on this story that's shocking on so many levels, Woj. And there was some initial optimism coming from the Warriors regarding the severity of Klay's injury, and then the bad news came down. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, he had the imaging in Southern California today and a clean tear of his right Achilles. And I talked to his agent, Greg Lawrence, who said, there's optimism about how this will heal, that they expect he'll be able to heal 100%. He'll be ready for the start of next season. But this is a blow to Klay Thompson, to the Warriors. He just finished a rigorous rehab on the ACL injury that kept him out all of last year. And now mentally he's got to get prepared for what's a more difficult rehab with the Achilles.
So let's remember that the Warriors went to 5 straight NBA Finals, right? And then the league's worst record last season. And then they draft James Wiseman 2nd overall last night. And then the Clay news, losing him for a year. What a roller coaster ride for this franchise, Woj. So what are their options moving forward? And of course, we reported the news about the possibility of Kelly Oubre coming over.
Yeah, that Kelly Oubre deal is going to get done. They're finalizing it. He's coming from Oklahoma City. Think of this, though. You talk about the commitment in Golden State to win. He's got a $14 million salary. They're absorbing it into a trade exception. So they're going to send picks back. But the luxury tax bill on that $14 million is an $80 million bill for Golden State. Kelly Oubre will be an $80 million player for them next season. Now, he doesn't replace Klay Thompson, but given what's on the market, there's a shortage of good shooting guards in free agency. I think they maximize what was out there. He's a good player, but Klay Thompson's a Hall of Famer and certainly synonymous with that Warrior dynasty.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way to replace him. So what other options besides Oubre, or would that be it based on the salary, the $80 million?
Yeah, they're going to have the biggest luxury tax bill in NBA history. I think right now, around, I think in the neighborhood of 130 million plus. I don't know if there's much more they can bring on, especially in a climate where the Warriors have those luxury seats. They're the most lucrative in the league, and they may not be able to have any fans, at least for the start of the NBA season.
Exactly. Remember, this is the problem for all teams, but in particular, with an injury like this, we're only 12 days away from training camp beginning when the Warriors get this news. So Woj, keep us up to date on Oubre and anything else.
Thanks.
Breaking news into Sports Center. We have been waiting for the results of the MRI for Klay Thompson. Adrian Wojnarowski with us. What can you tell us, Woj?
Matt, worst possible news for the Warriors. Klay Thompson has suffered a full tear of his right Achilles. He will miss the entire season. He missed last season with an ACL tear in his left knee. This is his right Achilles, but he had the imaging today in Southern California. And Klay Thompson, now you're looking at a 8 to 10 month rehab. He will miss the entire season.
And again, this happened when he was playing a pickup game in Southern California. When you look, Woj, because we were just talking about it during the commercial break, this franchise was as high as you could get for 4 or 5 years when they were winning titles. Now what for the Warriors and Klay?
Yeah, this was a team that thought they were going to go right back into contention in the Western Conference. Picked up Andrew Wiggins at the trade deadline last year, drafted James Wiseman last night. They have some remedies financially that they can go out and do some things in the next week, but you're not replacing Klay Thompson. They have a $17 million trade exception that would cost them 3 times that to use any part of it. So they can do some things here to go out, and it is a very weak market for shooting guards. But I think anything they do this year, you're looking at a stopgap move. This is a team greatly diminished without the loss of obviously one of the 2 Splash brothers.
For NBA fans out there, maybe Warriors fans watching us, maybe a comparable. Everyone knows his former teammate in Golden State, Kevin Durant, had the same injury. What do we know about Durant's rehab? Maybe to give people in Golden State a little bit of hope.
Well, anybody who's watched Kevin Durant since he's recovered with the Nets, he has looked great by all accounts coming off of his Achilles injury. I'm sure Klay will lean on Kevin Durant. But Klay Thompson has an Achilles injury on top of an ACL tear. So he's going to miss 2 full seasons of NBA competition. And this is one of the most popular players in the league, really one of the preeminent athletes in Bay Area history. This is a huge blow.
Woj, I know you've been waiting for that in addition to everything else going on. But again, the breaking news, Klay Thompson has ruptured his Achilles tendon. He will miss the season. Woj, thank you so much. This is such a bummer for Klay and everyone involved because the Splash Brothers are so great to watch. But Curry and Klay, they made nearly 4,000 threes as teammates. That is by far the most by a teammate duo in NBA history. That, according to Elias, more than 1,000 ahead of Steph and Draymond. We missed them a lot last season, and again this season. We will be without the Splash Brothers because of Klay Thompson rupturing his Achilles. Switching gears to the NBA, Golden State Warriors guard Klay Thompson suffered a leg injury during a workout Wednesday in Southern California. He's having an MRI this morning. Thompson, playing with several NBA players in LA, felt pain in his calf area, landed on his leg, sources told our Ramona Shelber, and the Warriors are worried it's possibly an Achilles tendon injury, but we are continuing to wait. Our front office insider Bobby Marks with us, as is our NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, we know the MRI is happening this morning. We are awaiting those results. What is the latest you can tell us?
Well, it's exactly that, Matt. He's undergoing that imaging right now in Southern California. His agent, Greg Lawrence, is there. I think some of the team people have come down. And so they're hoping for the best, but they're bracing for the fact that this could be a significant injury.
Hey, we had heard a second ago, and when I was reading, setting up to you, that they fear that it could be an Achilles injury. Is there anything more on that and any type that injury they might be suspecting, Woj?
Well, it's in that lower leg, that calf Achilles area. And so, they're certainly taking it very seriously. And this is a player, Klay Thompson, who missed the entire last season with that torn ACL in his left knee. This is a right leg injury this time.
Yeah, and Bobby, he hit on it there. This is a player that they thought they were going to get back healthy with Steph Curry and hopefully have everything put in place. So now let's just play the game of Klay Thompson is out. What now for the Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, this was the perfect lineup, right? When you look at with Klay there, and now you had James Wiseman. I mean, this is what before the night of the draft. Now this is what their options are going to be. They have this $17.2 million trade exception. It expires on November 23rd. So the clock starts now to be able to use it. You can't sign a player. You can acquire a player in a trade, but it will cost you. Right now they're at $65 million in luxury tax. You use that all, it goes up to about $150 million. So it's about $80 million. You have your $5.7 million tax mid-level exception to go out and get a shooting guard. Out of the free agent groups, this is probably the weakest among shooting guards. You have your own picks in 21 and 22 to maybe try to throw out in a trade. You've got that Minnesota pick, but I would take that off the board in any type of trades. And then you have 5 future seconds that maybe you can add to try to acquire.
Sure.
So the options are there, but as I said, the clock is kind of ticking until Monday when that big trade exception expires.
And we've seen a lot of deals over the last week around the NBA. And I'll tell you what, gentlemen, for a team that was just on the doorstep of being a dynasty, in fact, was considered a dynasty, now to have 2 years in a row with injuries to Klay Thompson and Steph Curry could be debilitating for this franchise. Woj, I know you're going to be busy. We'll bring you out as soon as news warrants during the 2 hours of this Sports Center. Gentlemen, thank you.
Here's what we know about Klay Thompson's leg injury. He was hooping with some fellow players yesterday. He felt some pain in his calf when he landed, and he is currently undergoing an MRI right now to confirm the severity. We don't know much beyond that right now. Sources tell ESPN there is concern within the organization that it could be an Achilles tear. But again, as soon as we know something, we will bring that to you here. So for now, we're going to sort of speculate, and we're going to bring in our NBA analyst, Tim Legler. Should Klay Thompson have a serious injury, what kind of impact would this have on the Warriors going forward?
Well, it's devastating because this is a team, we all found pretty interesting to watch the league this year without a team that's a championship caliber team. It's almost like the Warriors had a year off from the NBA. And with Klay Thompson back, Steph Curry back, Draymond Green obviously still there. They had the number 2 pick. They've added Andrew Wiggins. That was a team that I immediately expected to contend again. I looked at that as probably a top 3 team in the Western Conference in the regular season, and then finding their stride as you got closer to the playoffs and a legitimate threat to win a title. Without Klay Thompson, I don't think there's any way you could take that leap. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. It doesn't sound good right now. I don't think the window is necessarily closed because I still think he can come back down the road. It's just going to be suspended for a little bit. They'll be very good, but I don't think they'll be a championship contender. And I mentioned that 2nd pick in the draft. This is something that's going to be big for them because they went out and got a franchise-type player in the middle in James Wiseman. This is a guy that universally was regarded for about a year as the number 1 pick in the draft. Now, he ends up number 2. Golden State will gladly take him because this is a team that obviously has a void in the middle. He can run the floor all day. He can protect the rim, but he's also pretty good if you throw the ball into the post. So if you want to play that way and slow the game down a little bit, he can also operate there and make a mid-range jump shot. He's an elite-level talent and athlete, and he fills a significant void for the Warriors. Look, this is still going to be a very good team, and they'll be a playoff team in the Western Conference. I just think taking that kind of firepower out, if Klay Thompson misses the year, I don't think you can see a ring coming this year in Golden State.
It would be 2 straight years where Klay Thompson didn't play the NBA, and it just feels like if it was the end of this dynasty, it's a bit of an unceremonious one at that. We appreciate Tim Legler for joining us from a Pottery Barn Christmas display. Thank you so much for breaking down this. It's very impressive what you've got going on behind you. Is any of that for sale, or did you want to wait till after Thanksgiving to bring? No, there's no.